There is a life that's more than just surviving, more than just existing. You were not created to walk through your days unnoticed, unshaken, or unfulfilled. There is a secret to living a powerful life, one that moves heaven, one that shakes darkness, one that leaves a mark not just in time, but in eternity. 1. Power begins with surrender. The paradox of true power is that it doesn't start with force, but with letting go. It doesn't begin when you declare control. It begins when you lay it down. When your hands are off your own plans and your heart bows low before the one who shaped you, then you become strong. Because it's no longer your strength, it's his power flowing through you. When you surrender, you become a vessel, and vessels carry glory. 2. The hidden places determine your strength. What no one sees, God sees, and the victories you win in the quiet, in the dark, and the stillness are what empower you in public. A powerful life is built in prayer closets, not platforms. It's shaped by discipline, by devotion, by moments on your knees when you could have run. You may not feel strong in those moments, but that's where the foundations are forged. What you do when no one is watching prepares you to stand when everyone is. 3. Purpose flows from the eternal, not the temporary. A powerful life doesn't chase after applause. It doesn't waste itself on what fades. It lives for what cannot be taken. When you anchor your soul in the eternal, you rise above the chaos of the moment. You see differently. You respond differently. You walk with quiet confidence because you know who you are and where you're going. This kind of purpose cannot be shaken by criticism, failure, or even loss because it's rooted in heaven. 4. Alignment brings anointing. When your life is aligned with heaven, your steps become supernaturally empowered. You're no longer striving, you're flowing. Doors open not because you forced them, but because you walked in obedience. God does not bless our ambition. He blesses our alignment. The more in tune you are with his voice, the more authority you walk in. A powerful life doesn't come from being impressive. It comes from being in sync. 5. Brokenness invites breakthrough. Don't despise your wounds. Don't hide your weakness. What you see as failure may be the very place God pours his power. A heart that's broken before him becomes a heart that carries his spirit. Power doesn't come from pretending you're whole. It comes from letting him make you whole. And every crack in your story becomes a place where his light shines through. That is not weakness. It is unstoppable glory. 6. You were made to shake the world. You were not born to fit in. You were not designed to settle. You were made for impact, to carry light into darkness, to break chains, to speak life. The same spirit that raised the dead lives in you, not to stay silent, but to roar. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You just need to be lit with fire. And when that fire is burning, nothing can put it out. Live like it, speak like it, believe like it. You're not just here to breathe air. You're here to move mountains. That is the secret. That is the call. And the time is now. The strength of letting go. The world will tell you that power comes by taking control, by holding tight to your ambitions, by forcing open the doors, by proving that you're enough. But the truth runs deeper, and it's more ancient than time. Real power doesn't begin with striving. It begins with surrender. It begins when you stop fighting against the wind and instead lift your sails. It begins when you realize you were never meant to carry the weight of the world and instead place it into the hands of the one who formed the world with his voice. The paradox of power is this. The moment you let go, you become stronger. When you stop trying to be everything, you make room for the eternal to be everything through you. So many people walk through life exhausted, not because they're weak, but because they're carrying burdens they were never meant to carry. Trying to fix everything, trying to make everyone happy, trying to meet every expectation. But the powerful life begins when you make the decision to surrender the illusion of control. You don't lose yourself. You finally discover yourself. Look through history. Look through scripture. Every man and woman who ever walked in divine power came to a moment of surrender. Abraham, when he left everything familiar and walked toward a land he didn't even know. Moses, when he dropped his staff and picked it back up, only when it became more than wood, it became a sign of authority. Esther, when she stepped out and said, "If I perish, I perish." Surrender was the doorway. Power came after. Surrender is not weakness. It is alignment. It's not giving up. It's giving over. And when you do that, you connect with the source. Suddenly, it's not your energy sustaining you, it's heaven's. It's not your ideas guiding you, it's wisdom that has no beginning or end. You speak and it carries weight. you move and things shift. Not because you're pushing harder, but because you're being carried. There's something beautiful and dangerous about surrender. Beautiful because it sets you free. Dangerous because it breaks the chains that held you back for years. It cuts off fear, pride, insecurity. It leaves no room for ego. You come out of surrender not puffed up, but lit up. You no longer need validation from people. You've been commissioned by something higher. You may ask, but what if I let go and fall? And the answer is, what if you let go and fly? Some of the most powerful moments in your life will begin with a simple act of surrender. When you release that offense you've been holding. When you lay down the fear that's been crippling you. When you give up the need to understand everything and instead choose to trust. That's when miracles begin. It's in surrender that the battle turns, that the Red Sea parts, that walls fall down, that chains break, that oil flows, that the fire comes. You weren't meant to manufacture power, you were meant to carry it. You must be empty of yourself. So if you want to live a powerful life, don't start with trying to become powerful. Start with becoming surrendered. Give up the illusion that you have to have it all together. Lay it down. The fear, the striving, the performance, let it fall. And when your hands are empty, they'll be ready to receive. Because the greatest strength doesn't come from how tightly you hold on. It comes from how willingly you let go. That's where power begins. And it's yours. The hidden places of purpose. Before a king wears a crown, he walks through the valley. Before light shines on the mountain, it first burns in the cave. The world celebrates the spotlight, the platforms, the applause, the visibility. But the truest greatness is never born in the spotlight. It is formed in the secret place. It is conceived in the quiet. It is shaped where no one sees. It is in the obscurity that the seed is buried. And though the world may think it's forgotten, in heaven's view, it's exactly where it needs to be. Because a seed cannot grow on the surface. It must go down before it comes up. It must be covered before it rises. In that hidden place, it breaks, it stretches, it transforms, and only then does it begin to rise toward the sun. This is where many people give up, when no one sees them, when no one celebrates them, when the doors don't open, and the recognition never comes. But what they don't realize is that this obscurity isn't a delay. It's a design. The obscurity is not a punishment. It is preparation. The greatest callings are formed when no one is watching. Think of the shepherd boy watching sheep in the wilderness. The world saw a boy forgotten by his father, passed over by his brothers. But heaven saw a king in training. Alone in the fields, he learned how to fight lions and bears, not for fame, but for faithfulness. Alone with a harp under the stars, he wrote the Psalms that would one day comfort the world. He was becoming a man after God's heart, not in the palace, but in the pasture. Think of the carpenter working in silence for 30 years before his first public word. The miracles would come later. The multitudes would come later. But first, he learned obedience in the hidden years. First, he walked among the ordinary, honoring his parents, studying, praying, waiting. He embraced obscurity so that when the hour came, he would be ready. You may feel like your life is small, like your purpose has been buried, but that is exactly what happens with seeds of greatness. They are not planted in glass boxes. They are planted in the dirt, covered in darkness, surrounded by silence. And yet something is happening beneath the surface. Roots are growing. Strength is forming. Faith is deepening. When heaven calls you to greatness, it doesn't rush the process. It allows you to be hidden because in hiding you are made holy. In isolation, your intentions are purified. You learn to be faithful without followers. You learn to trust without visibility. You learn to grow without applause. So don't despise the season of obscurity. Don't curse the days when no one sees your progress. Heaven sees it. Heaven is not in a hurry. Heaven builds slowly, but it builds strong. And when the time is right, what was hidden will be revealed. What was buried will rise. What looked like silence was actually strategy. You were not forgotten. You were being formed. You were not cast aside. You were being set apart. The greater the calling, the deeper the roots must go. Hold on to that truth. Embrace the stillness. Be faithful in the field. Because when greatness rises, it will not be shallow. It will be unshakable. And the world will wonder where it came from. But you'll know it came from the hidden place. From the secret chambers. From the depths of surrender. From the hand of the one who always knew your name, even when no one else did. Greatness is born in obscurity. And if you're in that place now, rejoice. Something powerful is being planted in you. and in time the world will see the fruit. The paradox of surrendered strength in the world's eyes, power is about control, influence, domination. The world says, take charge, take the lead, take the credit. It says that surrender is weakness, that yielding is giving up. But in the realm of truth, in the dimension where eternity speaks louder than time, the paradox is this. Power flows not from domination, but from surrender. True power begins the moment you let go. Surrender is not quitting. It is not throwing your hands up in defeat. It is raising your hands in trust. It is saying, I no longer need to carry what I was never meant to hold. It's saying, I'm not the source, I'm the vessel. And I can't be filled until I'm empty of myself. A sword in the hand of one trying to control everything will eventually bring destruction. But a sword in the hand of one who has surrendered to a higher purpose will bring deliverance. You see, surrender aligns you with something and someone greater than yourself. You stop striving to prove yourself, and you begin to move with divine strength, not your own. And that's where miracles begin. Think of the one who stood before the sea with an army behind him and water in front. He didn't fight. He didn't plan an escape. He lifted a staff, not in power, but in obedience. He yielded, and the sea split. Think of the one who marched around a wall not with weapons, but with worship. He surrendered to the voice that said, trust me. And on the seventh day, what had been fortified for generations fell without a single sword lifted. Surrender is the weapon of the Spirit. It disarms pride. It dethrones fear. It opens the gates of heaven. And in its quietness, it carries the roar of power that shakes kingdoms. Some of the most powerful people to ever walk this earth were not those with the most status, the loudest voice, or the strongest arm. They were the ones who got on their knees. The ones who said, not my will, but yours. The ones who wept in gardens and yet rose with unshakable resolve. They didn't lead with ego. They led with purpose. When you surrender, you step out of striving and into alignment. You stop forcing outcomes and start flowing in destiny. You begin to move in step with the one who holds time and eternity in his hands. And suddenly your limited ability is infused with unlimited grace. Your small becomes multiplied. Your steps become directed. Your weakness becomes strength. So why do we resist surrender? Because the ego wants control. Fear wants control, but control is an illusion. You were never made to be your own source. You were made to reflect something greater, to shine with light not your own. And that only happens when you're willing to lay it down. Lay down your pride. Lay down your timing. Lay down your need to understand it all. Because when you surrender, you're not losing control. You're handing it to the one who never loses. And that's when the breakthroughs come. That's when the chains break. That's when the water parts, the walls fall, and the mountains move. Not by your might, not by your power, but by a surrendered spirit flowing with a strength that cannot be stopped. You want to live a powerful life? Then let go. Trust, yield, say yes to the process. Say yes to the silence. Say yes to the moments when you don't see the outcome yet, because the surrendered heart is a channel of heaven's power. And when you walk in that, no force on earth can stand against you. Surrender is not weakness. It's the secret of the strong, and it will change everything. Strength in the midst of collapse. We live in a time when compromise is convenient, where truth is optional, and where standing firm can make you feel like the last one left. But those who walk the path of a powerful life are not those who move with the crowd. They are those who stand when everyone else sits, who walk forward when others retreat, who shine when the world embraces darkness. The secret of real strength is not seen in the absence of storms, but in the decision to stand firm within them. There will always be pressure to fall into bitterness, fall into fear, fall into doubt. The world will whisper that it's easier to just go along, to settle, to hide, to stay quiet when you should speak, to blend in when you were born to stand out. But when everything around you is shaking, the secret is not to match your surroundings, but to stay grounded in truth that does not move. There was once a man who was thrown into a den of lions, not because he did anything wrong, but because he refused to bow to what was wrong. He could have hidden his faith. He could have prayed in secret. He could have chosen safety over conviction, but he chose to stand. He didn't know if he'd survive the night, but he trusted the one who shut the mouths of lions. There were 3 others who were told to bow or burn, and they too could have rationalized their way out of it. They could have said, let's just go through the motions, but we won't mean it. But no, when the music played, they stood. While an entire nation fell to its knees, they remained upright. And in the fire, they were not alone. The fire only revealed the one who stood with them. You were not created to collapse with the culture. You were not made to blend in with the noise of the crowd. You were made to be a voice, a light, a pillar. You have within you the power to stand even if no one else does. And in your stand, others will find courage to rise. You don't need the approval of the world to be strong. You need the assurance of truth. You don't need the comfort of the crowd. You need the presence of the one who walks with you in the furnace and guards you in the lion's den. When your strength comes from him, it doesn't run dry. It doesn't falter. It doesn't break. What do you do when people betray you? When systems fail? When you're outnumbered? You keep standing. Because your life was never about fitting in. It was about being set apart. It was never about popularity. It was about purpose. And power doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being aligned with something greater than yourself. You don't have to shout to be strong. Strength is quiet, resolute, unshaken. It doesn't flinch. It doesn't flinch. It stands on the promises that are more real than circumstances, more lasting than opposition. In this hour, we need people who will not fold. We need hearts that are fixed, not flexible. We need lives that say, even if I have to stand alone, I will stand. And in that stand, the power of heaven backs you. The winds may blow, the fires may rage, but the one who stands is not standing alone. So choose to stand not because it's easy, but because it's right. Stand in love. Stand in truth. Stand in integrity. Stand in purpose. And as you do, you will walk in the quiet, resolute power of the unshakable. Because you were never meant to fall with the world, but to rise in the strength that holds the world together. Aligned for impact, a powerful life is not built on random actions, chance decisions, or short-lived desires. It is built upon purpose that doesn't begin with you, but with something, or rather someone greater than you. There is a reason you are here, a reason beyond success, beyond comfort, beyond accolades. That reason is what gives your life its power. Purpose is what separates the common from the sacred, the fleeting from the eternal. When you align your life with a greater purpose, everything begins to shift. Your priorities change. You stop chasing things that don't satisfy and begin investing in things that last. It's like aligning yourself with the current of a mighty river. Suddenly, you're not striving aimlessly. You're moving with divine direction. You have clarity, you have peace, and you have power. Not a power that comes from pushing harder, but from flowing in the right direction. Most people live reacting. They go where the wind blows. They follow feelings, trends, fears, and whatever is right in front of them. But a person aligned with purpose doesn't follow the wind. They follow a calling. They are not swayed by circumstance because their course is already set. They don't have time to waste on comparison, bitterness, or insecurity. They know that their steps are ordered and that they are here for something bigger than themselves. Let me tell you a truth. You were not born randomly. You didn't arrive in this time by accident. The circumstances that shaped you, the wounds, the victories, the setbacks, the dreams, all of it is part of a bigger tapestry. And when you choose to align your life with the one who wove that tapestry, you begin to understand the why behind your what. You see that even your pain had a purpose, that nothing was wasted. When a tree is planted in the right soil, under the right sun, in the right season, it doesn't struggle to grow. It thrives. And when your life is planted in the soil of divine purpose, you don't have to strive to matter. You don't have to manufacture greatness. You simply grow into what you were always meant to be. Think of the great people throughout history. What made them powerful was not talent alone. It was alignment. They aligned with a cause greater than comfort. They aligned with truth greater than opinion. They were willing to be misunderstood, rejected, and even alone because they were in alignment with a calling that outlived them. And that's the secret. If you want to live a powerful life, stop asking, what do I want to do with my life? And start asking, what was I created to do? There's a difference. The first question leads you inward to your preferences. The second leads you upward to your purpose. And when you find that purpose, when you say yes to it, you'll find a strength you didn't know you had. You'll wake up with intention. You'll speak with conviction. You'll endure with grace. Because you're not just existing, you're fulfilling. You're not just surviving, you're building something that echoes into eternity. That kind of life doesn't burn out. It burns brighter. So what are you aligned with today? Is it fear? Is it doubt? Is it popularity or temporary success? Or are you aligned with something higher, something that calls you forward even when it's hard. You want power? Align your life with purpose. Let every word, every choice, every step reflect the reason you're here. And you will discover the secret. True power is not in what you do, it's in why you do it. When you walk in purpose, heaven walks with you, and nothing can stop a life aligned with the reason it was created. Power is born in the hidden. The world is obsessed with what's visible. Spotlights, platforms, applause, titles. These are the measurements of success in the eyes of many. But the true power of life doesn't originate in the visible. The real secrets of a powerful life are found in the hidden places. Think of the seed. Before it ever breaks the soil, before it grows into a towering tree or produces fruit, it first goes down into darkness, into the unseen, into the quiet soil where no one is watching. It breaks open in a place no eye sees. And that breaking is not a failure, it's a beginning. That process is not defeat, it's transformation. So many people resist the hidden places, but that's where the roots are formed. That's where the foundation is built. You may be in a season right now where it feels like no one sees you. You're putting in effort, doing the work, being faithful, but the results aren't showing. Don't be discouraged. The hidden places are not places of punishment. They are places of preparation. Power is not built in the spotlight. It's forged in the quiet when no one is watching, when the only eyes on you are the ones that matter most. Some of the greatest battles you'll ever win won't be public. They won't be applauded, but they'll be the battles that shape your character. Saying no to temptation, choosing discipline over convenience, forgiving when you could hold a grudge. These are victories that happen in silence, and yet they are the ones that determine the strength of your life. We live in a world that rushes to show results, to show me the success. Show me the harvest. But the most powerful lives understand the rhythm of the hidden. They know that roots must grow deep before branches can stretch wide. They know that a slow, quiet obedience can birth a loud, lasting legacy. Think of those who impacted history. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness. David was tending sheep long before he took the throne. Even the Messiah spent 30 years in obscurity before a 3-year ministry changed the world. Don't despise your hidden season. Embrace it. Because it's in the hidden places where you learn to listen, where you are refined, where you become the person who can handle what's coming. If you try to skip the hidden, you'll step into something you're not prepared to carry. The spotlight can burn you if your character isn't strong enough to stand beneath it, but if your roots run deep, if your strength was forged in prayer, humility, patience, and perseverance, then when the time comes for your life to be seen, it won't just shine, it will endure. Hidden places teach you to be anchored. When everything around you is shaking, you're still rooted. You're not moved by praise, and you're not broken by criticism, because you've already done the hard work in private. You've already faced yourself, surrendered your pride, and learned to trust something higher than applause. So if you're in a place where no one sees your faithfulness, take heart. If you feel like the doors aren't opening yet, don't quit. Because it's in the hidden places that God does his deepest work. That's where he forms the vessels that will carry his purposes into the world. Remember, the oak tree doesn't fear the storm, not because it's invincible, but because its roots are deep, and your power isn't in how loud you are, it's in how grounded you are. Let the hidden place be holy ground. Let it be the place where you grow into the person the world needs but doesn't yet see. Because one day, when the time is right, what was hidden will be revealed. And the fruit that comes from your life will not be shallow or fleeting. It will be lasting, because it was born in the secret place. That is the secret of a powerful life.